I've heard of in relation to places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, but I'm using it here where it has a cash-only utility, as Iraq is a almost entirely cardless economy. And I'm going to the Shaheed monument, or martyr monument, before sunset, and I want to shoot some photos to compare from when I was here 20 years ago. I've airdropped some photos from the 2003 period onto my phone so that I can have them as reference points to shoot new photos. So I think this should be interesting if nothing else. Also beautiful. So that mission did not at all work out, which isn't surprising, but a soldier at the entrance to the park where the Martyrs Monument is told me and the driver that it was too late in the day. So we were kind of at loose ends, and the driver was asking me what, if anything, I wanted to do. And he suggested that maybe he just drop me off on either Rasheed Street or Mutanabbi Street, which is... Mutanabbi Street is the famous street of artisans and booksellers, and so I said, well, what the hell? Drop me off at Mutanabbi Street and I'll just walk around before iftar. And it's a lovely quiet evening here. I think things are about to get busy. So the famous street here in Baghdad is kind of beautifully mellow before the iftar meal, breaking the Ramadan fast, and kind of loving it. I'm actually walking down the middle of the street with no crowd. To put it mildly, Baghdad is a very challenging place to explore, for there are security forces and all kinds of security forces seemingly everywhere. And even when you're trying to do something innocent or banal, as far as just shooting a video or a photo, a lot of the times the answer is no, without really much of an explanation. And you basically just have to smile and act not bothered and hope to try again the next day. Often, you know, security men will tell you, come back tomorrow. And it just seems to be kind of a thing here. So if you're going to come to the Iraqi capital, which I think is mildly recommendable at this point, you just need to be prepared for that it's not as accessible as places like Amman or Beirut, or I would say even Ba'athist-controlled Damascus. So people here are friendly, generally speaking, but you never know what kind of access you're going to get, even when you're trying to do something that seems really sort of obvious and basic. In the 20 years that I've been coming to Iraq, the very, very end of the day has always been my favorite. And not just as a photographer, but just as a person who just loves light and loves visuals. I love this time. It's just magic. Hence the old cliche, magic hour. Assalamu alaikum. I was trying to find the clock tower here, but maybe I came in the wrong entrance. So I was walking all this way to try and get to the old clock tower. So many ruined buildings here. It's like a maze of brick, stone, dirt, broken glass. Here it looks like you see some, well, it's decently rusted, but you see some rebar like there is or had been a reconstruction effort. But I like the aura of this place. Things are certainly all decked out for Ramadan. I have to say, I do like this sort of sparkle light approach to the clock tower. The principal intact landmark here is the Kishla clock tower that was erected by the Ottoman wali or governor in the late 1800s, about I think 1869. And later in 1927, at the top, a clock was installed as a gift from King George V of England to King Faisal I of, first he was the king of Syria, and then he became the king of Iraq. And yeah, this place is in pretty good shape here, actually, considering all the things that Iraq has seen. I'm gathering probably some restoration work has been done, but it is definitely the thing to see if you come down here to the Ottoman ruins on the Tigris. It's really pleasant in the evening. You know, I kind of wonder if a moment like this is a calm before the storm, before tourism comes to Iraq on a much larger scale than the small trickle of international visitors that are coming now, or if Iraq will slide back into conflict as it did in 2014. The American troops left in December of 2011, I think it was December 17th, and they crossed the border into Kuwait as then President Barack Obama had promised that he was going to bring the troops home from Iraq. But less than 3 years later, the Americans came back to the country in the name of fighting the IS group, which at the time had taken about 40% of the country. And I certainly hope it is the former scenario and not the latter, because this is truly an amazing city. And it's a place that you just really want the best for, especially after over 4 decades of conflict. Baghdad is, to say it's legendary is quite the understatement. This art installation is absolutely amazing. It's a giant wooden bird cage made out of 600 wooden bird cages. What an experience this place is. And there's nobody here. They're just a couple of local families having iftar dinner. It's just, this is one of those times in life where you're just like, wow, I have this all to myself. I mean, the craftsmanship is amazing. So just as I was about to leave, some Baghdadis lit up the upper floor of a ruined part of the Kishla. And wow, this looks cool. This looks so cool. I don't think the GoPro can do this justice. Wow. One thing I can definitely say about Baghdad is that this city, for all of its problems, it has a way of surprising you. You turn a corner and you see the most random cool thing like this. And then you kind of question, you know, how short or how long of a time you're going to stay here. There's a lot more than meets the eye. I'm sitting in the famous Shabandar tea house here in old Baghdad, and I was leaving the art installation in the ruins, and I essentially couldn't resist stopping in this place. It's a really, really well-known Baghdad landmark. It was hit by a massive suicide bomb in 2007, and it killed 30 people, including the owner's 4 sons. And the place has been rebuilt, and I hate to be this cliche, but it's kind of a metaphor for the city itself. It's busy and bustling as ever. Not like that tragedy didn't close it down or anything of the sort. So it's everything I thought it would be. It's very loud and lively and smoky and pretty cool. Definitely worth popping in. And something I'm kind of curious about this place is the name Shabandar is Farsi, which basically means king or ruler of the port. Shah meaning king or ruler, and Bandar means port, at least in present-day Farsi. So it's kind of interesting that the name alludes to the intersection between Arab and Persian culture here in Baghdad, which you can see in some of the architecture and the names of some of the places, how intertwined these civilizations are. This place is the definition of that old expression, the difference between night and day. Walking down toward the river earlier, just before sunset or just during sunset, I was walking in the middle of the street. There were no other pedestrians, just people setting up things. And now you can, it's like being in Times Square in the middle of Manhattan now. There's so many people walking around. This place is so alive with life. It's absolutely incredible. And after all that excitement, I'm now back on Rasheed Street in what is essentially a no man's land between Mutanabbi Street and the rest of Baghdad. It's like very, very desolate. I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure, but there are no shops open. There is nothing going on. There's a little bit of garbage collection and a few stray dogs here and there, and that's about it.